Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to day 2 of the Justice Begins Early, Empowering Communities Through Innovative Intervention Conference. I trust you're feeling rested and ready to go. We had a great day yesterday, and today will be equally engaging and informative. I am honored again to introduce Grandmother's Voice, who will now lead us in our special opening ceremony for day 2.
Dano, good morning. Nice to see everyone again. I'm getting myself settled here on in Oakville. That's where I come to you from. And this morning I felt wonderful waking up. It's a gift and an honor to be able to share words first thing in the morning with a group of people who are coming together to make a difference, to make change. And so for those of you who didn't join us yesterday, welcome. And I'll begin with our Thanksgiving address, which is something that's been around from time immemorial. They say it's the words that come before all else. And so I've lit some medicine here, some white buffalo sage, and that's just to bring in that good energy. And it's said that the smoke from this medicine carries our messages to the spirit world, to the creator, to our ancestors, so that we're heard, so that whatever it is that we need and what we come here with, that we let that medicine take that off of our shoulders, take that away from us, so that we are here bringing our minds and our hearts together as one. And so I welcome you all. We always welcome the people first, because if it wasn't for you, for us, we wouldn't have this collective. We wouldn't have relationships with each other and love and words to share. And so I'd just like to take a couple of minutes and just acknowledge that natural world around us. I'm lucky I get to sit here and with my windows open and watch the people walk by, and they wave. And so it's nice to watch people living in their day-to-day time and taking that time out in the natural world. And so I'm seeing the trees and the leaves are falling, and they're beautiful. The color comes to remind us we had a full time in summer, and now it's time to prepare for our rest. Today is a full moon. It's the beaver moon, and it's a time of year that we start to think about what we're going to do in the winter, what we'll do in the time of resting. And that's what will happen. The snow will come, and the snow becomes that blanket for Mother Earth. And we acknowledge Mother Earth and all of those elements that naturally know their responsibility. And so we acknowledge that also the moon, for those of you who follow or don't follow, this is a super moon. So not only is it, she's telling us, Grandmother Moon is telling us, prepare yourself for the winter, prepare yourself for the fall. The moon being so close to the earth, it's like we can feel her. It's the second time that she's been this close. And so for those of you, myself, even today, I feel a little like excited. I don't even, I don't know that it was just being here, being able to offer my words. But it's about this shift in time. And even knowing that, the natural world has been doing this for so long without us. And we just honor it's time to honor those animals who are preparing for their rest as well, because they took care of us through that time. And so these are the teachings that, the elders share with us and remind us that it's okay to talk about love and gratitude every day. And for those of you who do land acknowledgements or are nervous about that or being called on to do that, those are the times when you can actually really bring your true essence to welcome the people, and bring in that energy of saying, like, we're here for a purpose and a reason. And that natural world knows that, because they show up every day the same way. The trees stand and they don't get in the way of the other trees. And, their roots all come together under the ground, and the waters flow, and we're all a part of that. We are one. And so, knowing that, I don't have too many more minutes, but I do have some messages to share. I'd like to acknowledge, the sun that I don't see right now, but I know he's there. He rises every day to remind us that we have a new day every day. And it's our choice in how we make those days, how we make the days happen in our lives. And I did hear birds when I went out this morning, and I was, they were actually quite loud, and you could just hear them kind of scurrying, and it seemed like they were getting ready. But that message from the birds is always about joy. They remind us to sing. They remind us to be alive. And so my opening has a little bit more about that story about the birds. And so I just like to, close that Thanksgiving and know that I didn't mention everything that the Creator and Mother Earth provides for us, but it's in my heart. And I've been really blessed to be able to work with elders who are here, that are sharing wisdom for us to be well in this time in our world together. And so I acknowledge the Creator and our ancestors, and for anyone that is suffering that of, let's just bring that energy of that person into this room, because we are here to make change in the world, and we're here for those people who need support. And so Nyawa, for that, taking that time to open with me and give gratitude. And so I'd like to just welcome you back and acknowledge that you made it through the night. and I did. I actually had a great sleep, and through that sacred dream time, when the Spirit weaves together everything we heard and felt on the first day, that's what that dream time is about. It's about everything that happened that day. It gives you that time to think about it and dream about it and feel about it without being really conscious. So dream time is very important for all of us. And this morning we awaken with that new light, new questions, new possibilities. So we'll just, I know I need to take a deep breath right now. I just want to, so breathe with me if you don't mind, whatever you're doing, just take that deep breath and let it fill your body, your chest, your belly, your feet on the floor, and feel that quiet pulse beneath you. And that's the heartbeat of the land. It's everything that I just spoke about, reminding us that we are still held and that we are connected, and we're a part of something greater than ourselves, greater than this circle. We came here with a purpose. And before I share my story, I also woke with a message from me as someone who had no idea that I would be in this role. At Grandmother's Voice, it was a story of my grandmother's spirit coming to me saying, you have a purpose. And what is that purpose? The more you learn, the more you have to share with the people. And so I became immersed in a circle of these amazing elders and healers who have healed themselves, and they want to heal. They want to help others understand how to heal. And so it's our purpose. The message I received today was that we're coming together with, beautiful minds and hearts, with an opportunity to bring all of our voices and ideas together. But our true responsibility at the end of this is to come up with one strong message. And sometimes I feel like that's what we forget to do at the end of these conferences. What are we leaving with? What is that one thing that we are going to do from this to make change out there? Because I feel sometimes we come in and we're in silos, and we end up back in those silos in our work saying, that was wonderful, I'm inspired, but now what? And if there's something that I could say, that I'm sitting on this end listening to everyone, the one thing that intersects in all of the discussions we're having, everything, is that Indigenous people are overrepresented in every issue that we are discussing. And we're trying to figure out, like, how do we fix this? How do we fix this? If we don't take care of the Indigenous people who were here first, we will never fix any of these issues. We have to go to that source. And to me, that source is that we are overrepresented in every conversation. So what are we going to do as a collective when we leave? And so yesterday we spoke about justice, relationship, treaties, and the wisdom that lives in all creation. And today we begin again with open hearts and minds, and maybe even a little more humility, because when we gather like this, we're not exchanging ideas. We're participating in ancient ceremony, a remembering of how to listen. There's a story elders tell about a small bird who carried the songs of of the people to the sky world each morning. Her feathers shimmered with dew, her heart was light. And before the first dawn, she would rise and singing a single note, so clear that it touched every corner of creation. That one note told the sun it was time to wake. But one day that bird was silent, and the people waited and waited, but no song came. The world began to dim, shadows stretching where light used to live. So the people sent the wind to find her. The wind searched across the mountains, through forests, over waters. Finally, the wind returned and whispered, "She's still singing, but you have forgotten how to listen." The elders say that story isn't about birds at all. It's about us. About the moments when the world feels too heavy, when we stop hearing the small, sacred little things that keep us connected. So maybe today, as we continue to learn through the panels, the stories, the conversations, we'll hear a faint note of that song again. Maybe we'll feel something stir in us, a memory, a knowing, a call to act differently. Because the truth is, the song has never stopped. It lives in the spaces between our words, in the quiet after someone shares hard truth, in the courage it takes to listen with the heart instead of the mind. So as we begin this new day, I invite you to carry this question with you. What does it mean to truly hear? Maybe the answer will come during a session, maybe in a hallway conversation, or maybe when we gather again tonight, you'll recognize that little bird song in your own heartbeat and realize it was there all along. Yeah, have a wonderful visit today.
Thank you with great gratitude, Grandmother's Voice, for your teachings again today. And hopefully we'll be open to hearing that faint note. Before we introduce our next speaker, I would like to go over a couple of housekeeping notes. In this virtual setting that we are sharing today, our goal is to create an exclusive space where everyone has a voice, opinions are shared openly, and beliefs can be challenged respectfully, and actions and intentions are owned. As conference hosts, we'll preserve this space by removing anyone engaging in inappropriate behavior, abuse, or hate speech from the conference platform. If at any point during the day you require support, please reach out to one of the crisis services. You can do this by clicking the support button on the main stage page or the event info tab in the menu to the left of the screen. If you would like to report an incident, click on the Help button on the conference homepage. For assistance or to address technical issues, you can click on the question mark button on the menu, or click on the envelope on the menu at the top of the site. To connect with the event team, click on the Help button located at the bottom of the homepage or on the menu bar to the left of your screen. If you haven't done so already, please set up your profile on the platform by clicking My Profile icon on the conference homepage. Lastly, please take some time out of your day to visit the poster presentation, exhibit booth, and network with fellow attendees. I will now hand it over to Katie Hughes, Provincial HSJCC Co-Chair, to share a few remarks.
Thank you, Amy. And thank you again, Jody from Grandmother's Voice, for your beautiful words and inspiring reflection. Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Howes, and I'm the Director of Operations at the John Howard Society of Peel, Halton, Dufferin. As mentioned, I have the pleasure of co-chairing the Provincial HSJCC with Sarah Diaz, who many of you met yesterday. I'm also the current co-chair of the Halton Regional HSJCC, and it's been an incredible experience being a part of this network for just over 5 years. In that time, I've seen firsthand the power of collaboration across local, regional, and provincial levels, specifically how connection, compassion, and innovation can truly change outcomes for people intersecting with the human services and justice systems. This year's conference theme, Justice Begins Early, Empowering Communities Through Innovative Intervention, really captures what's at the heart of our work. Yesterday's sessions reminded us that early, community-led approaches can prevent people from falling through the cracks, whether through brain injury responsive supports, culturally grounded programs, or reintegration models built on trust and lived experience. As we begin day 2, I encourage you to reflect on what you heard yesterday, the stories of resilience, innovation, and collaboration, and think about how we can carry that energy forward in our own communities. It is now my pleasure to introduce Benjamin Bongolan, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Lead at the Canadian Mental Health Association Ontario Division, who will share some reflections and introduce today's keynote panel.
Good morning, everyone. As I reflect on this year's conference theme, Justice Begins Early, Empowering Communities Through Innovative Intervention, I am especially moved by the emphasis placed on processes of co-creation and collaboration. Likewise, as I reflect on this theme, I find myself turning to a Filipino worldview that has guided me throughout much of my work in community. This is known as Kapwa, a Filipino worldview emphasizing shared humanity and viewing others as an extension of oneself. It fosters relationality and upholds the dignity of all beings. In line with this, I wanted to express gratitude for being here with all of you today, and it is an honor to be here, and I look forward to learning from all of you. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our dynamic keynote panel, the role of culture and connection in reducing justice involvement. Please note that the panelists' full bios are available through the conference platform for your reference. If you have questions for the panel, please type them in the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen under the video, and we will try to get to as many questions as we can during the Q&A period at the end. I'd first like to introduce our moderator for the session, Priscilla Boateng. Priscilla is a senior policy and program analyst at the Ministry of Children, Community, and Social Services. Next are our panelists. Connie Spencer is an Indigenous addiction and mental health outreach worker at Lakeridge Health. Amandeep Kaur is the CEO of Punjabi Community Health Services, PCHS. Sheena Blake Brown is the director of Prosper at Amadeusz. And Zaire Pitamba is a student and a person with lived experience.
Thank you, Ben. Hello, good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to moderate today's panel on culture, where we'll discuss emerging approaches that integrate culture into services and supports that can better meet the needs of individuals with complex needs and reduce justice involvement. As mentioned, my name is Priscilla Boateng, and I'm a senior policy and program analyst with the Ministry of Children, Community, and Social Services, working within the Provincial Youth Justice System. A portion of my work focuses on advancing culturally relevant and responsive system approaches in collaboration with community stakeholders and partners in addressing the overrepresentation of both Black and Indigenous youth in the justice system, and to strengthen pathways to prevention, diversion, and rehabilitation. The Youth Justice Division is currently engaged in a multi-year undertaking to enhance and expand culturally grounded and community-driven approaches to assess, adapt, and improve system responses across the youth justice services continuum that centers the voices and needs of community and youth and builds capacity for existing community resources towards equitable and improved outcomes. Youth justice shares a strong alignment with the work of the HSJCC in promoting integrated and cross-sector collaboration to support marginalized and racialized individuals with complex needs at the intersection of human services and justice. Our panel today brings together community leaders who are at the forefront of this work, designing and delivering interventions rooted in culture, community, and lived experience. Our panelists will offer valuable insights into how community-based and culturally grounded approaches can meet clients where they are, respond to their complex needs, and promote healing, accountability, and long-term well-being. Throughout our conversation this morning, we'll explore just how culture is embedded into programming, best practices that support clients with complex needs, and how the role of culture and the promising practices shared today can be effectively integrated across mainstream systems. As moderator, my role is to guide our discussion to ensure diversity of perspectives are heard and to highlight key insights that can inform policy, practice, and partnership moving forward. I'd now like to invite our panelists to provide a brief introduction about their role, organization, and their interest in speaking today. Beginning with Connie. Hi, Connie. Please go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Skanagawa, everybody. My name is Connie. I'm with Durham Mental Health, Lakeridge Health. I'm the Indigenous Outreach Worker. And in my role, I'm supporting people that are living in the community navigate the system for them from a culturally trauma-informed care, whatever that means to them. And my interest today is just providing education on what my role offers, how it can support people in the community, and how Indigenous people can fit into this.
Thank you so much. And Amandeep, if you can please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Priscilla. Good morning, everyone. I'm Amandeep Kaur, the Chief Executive Officer of Punjabi Community Health Services, PCHS. So PCHS is a multi-service health and social organization that has been serving in the Peel region and surrounding communities for over 35 years. We provide mental health, addiction, seniors, newcomer settlement, and family services through a model grounded in culture, language, and community connection. Our programs are based on belief that culture is not a barrier, it is a bridge. It connects people of care, resource, dignity, and builds trust between communities and systems. So now the second question, Priscilla, that why I am part of this conference. I am honored to be part of today's discussion because justice involvement often stems from systemic inequities and limited access to culturally safe supports. At PCHS, we have observed how early culturally responsive intervention delivered by individuals who understand the lived experiences of the community can help prevent crisis, lower re-offense, and foster healing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amandeep. And last but not least, our remaining panel members, Sheena and Zaire. If you could go ahead and please introduce yourselves.
Hi, good morning, guys. I'm Zaire Pitamba. I hope you guys can all hear me well. I'm here today just to speak to everybody and show my perspective as a person that was involved in the justice system and who actually kind of got out of it and was able to pursue something, to give my opinion on what we can probably do better. Yeah, that's it for now. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. That was good. And Sheena?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Sheena Blake Brown. I'm Director of Prosper at Amadeusz. At Amadeusz, I could give you our mission statement, but really, primarily, we're inside the jails because we support folks in finishing high school while they're in remand custody, as well as some college and university. But at Prosper, we focus on working with guys that have had firearm-related charges. Why I'm here today is because I'm here to watch Zaire speak. He is one of the most brilliant young men that I've known in a long time, and I'm just really proud of him. And I think our director of education at Amadeusz often says, like, all impact is impact, and sometimes you think, oh, if only one person gets it, is it enough? But watching Zaire be here, do this, shine so bright that everyone can see him beyond lived experience is something that I'm just really proud of. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you all. I look forward to hearing more about information from each one of you. So now I'd like to begin our panel discussion so that we can learn more about the different culturally grounded programs, services, and supports that are available representative of diverse communities. So there are a total of 4 questions that I will now go through, and each panelist will have a few minutes to share their knowledge and information. And then once we've gone through each of the questions, we'll open it up to the audience to pose any questions for today's panelists. So without further ado, to start, let's explore what it means to embed culture and connection in our work. I'll begin with Connie first. Connie, as an Indigenous mental health and addictions outreach worker, how do you embed culture within your work and meet people where they are?
Can you guys hear me okay?
It's a tad bit better, but it could be.
Okay, because it was working fine earlier, and then someone sent me a message saying it sounded muffled. So, okay, I would have to say recognizing diversity within as a starting point, meaning understanding that not all Indigenous communities have the same cultural practices, and understanding that every Indigenous community and every Indigenous person possesses their own worldview on culture and what that means to them. Indigenous people have experienced varying levels of impacts from colonization, so it's not really a cookie cutter approach. Focusing on the person and what they need by listening to their stories told from their viewpoint. Really just sitting with them and giving them equality at the table. So sometimes in the work that we do, we get trapped into our roles that are written for us by institutions. And our cultural teachings tell us that we all have gifts and that we're all meant to share those gifts with each other. And everyone in community has something to share or something to offer. Everyone has like a shiny side. There's like a whole teaching around our medicine around that. And I think by listening to people instead of trying to push our ideas onto them, people will actually tell you what those gifts are through their story. And so that's where the real connection, I think, begins.
Thank you so much, Connie. This next question, or I'll pose the same question to Sheena and Zaire. What does embedding culture and building connection within your work mean to you? And how does Amadeusz embed culture within programs?
Well, to me, embedding culture and building connection means truly understanding where your client's coming from, their background, their environment, and the experiences that shape them. A lot of times I've seen workers who haven't faced the same struggle as you and who they are helping, so they don't fully understand why a person might act a certain way or speak a certain way. And that makes it hard to do the job generally. Culture to me also includes understanding someone's wants, needs, and personal identity, not just where they come from, but what matters to them. When you take time to understand that and apply that, you can support them properly. You can build trust with them. And that's something that Amadeusz has done really well with me and pretty much everyone else they worked with. They meet people where they are, they relate through lived experience, and they make sure that every young person feels seen, understood, and supported as an individual. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Zaire.
Thanks, Zaire. I want to add to that. Or I actually don't know that there's much to add after what Connie and Zaire have shared, but every time I think about this, we spent 2025 really focused on this language of culture. And as I'm seeing now, like in hindsight, I'm thinking culture really relates to we go from the micro as in one person to like more macro over and over, from where they stay to where they came from to what's happening around them. And I think at Amadeusz, we've been really focused on seeing the you person it's like maybe you've come from Guyana and you were raised here, and we could adapt all types of practices that relate to Guyana, but we really want to relate to the you person you. And that's the thing that I'm seeing helps a person to open up enough to trust you enough to share what they need next, which is exactly what Connie and Zaire shared. So I just want to thank you both for your wise words, and I look forward to what else you both have to share.
Yes, thank you all for sharing so far and setting the tone. And then lastly, Amandeep, I'll pose a similar question for you. How do you or Punjabi community health services embed culture within your programs?
No, thanks, Priscilla. After Connie, Zaire, and Sheena, they shared their words of wisdom. I would like to compliment and add on to what they have shared, that culture at PCHS is the foundation, not an add-on. We incorporate it throughout every level: program design, delivery, and evaluation. You just can't say that, okay, the culture is part of program delivery only. I have the so-and-so who speak the language, looks like you, deliver the culturally responsive service. This is not what happens at PCHS. So our service philosophy is rooted in the concept of seva. Now, what is the seva? Seva is a Punjabi word. It means selfless service, and it stands for equality, dignity, and collective care. And that's what culturally responsive service is. So how we operationalize it at PCHS? So we are hiring the staff who reflects the community, language, culture, and spirituality. We co-design the programs with the community, not for the community. We offer the care at home in 10 different languages. We don't believe in delivering the mental health addiction services via interpreters or translators. And then integrating the cultural rituals and practices. For example, mindfulness, like Connie shared, we all look into it is through kirtan. Kirtan is it's a rhyme that calm your spirit, and gender specific wellness programs. So culture shapes how people express distress, seek help, and define healing. Embedding it help us build trust and deliver care that feels familiar, not far. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Amandeep. So many gems dropped, and it's very important and critical that you mentioned that culture is just not one pathway, but there's several pathways to providing that culturally responsive and sensitive care. So now I'd like us to better understand how culturally based programs support clients with complex needs in reducing justice involvement, and what programs or practices have had the biggest impact. Beginning with Sheena and Zaire, can you share some examples from Amadeusz where culturally grounded approaches have supported young adults in navigating the justice system and building stronger community connections?
Yeah, for me, it's been more than just a program. It's been family. Sheena and the team really took time to listen to my story and understand who I am and where I'm coming from. They didn't judge me. They helped me heal parts of my childhood by just showing me by showing care and taking time to take me out for experiences like dinner, kayaking, and other things, and helping me feel human again. Through Amadeusz, they helped me with finishing high school, getting into college, and even helping me with food, rent, getting my driver's license, forklift license. And honestly, without them, I think I'd probably be given trouble again. Because it's hard. It's hard to do things by yourself and do things by yourself today and see the world move by while everything else for you yourself is moving slow. So without the help of them, yeah, I probably would have been back in the system for God knows what. And that's what makes that's what makes that's what makes their approach so special, and that's what makes it rooted in culture. Um, connection, uh, the connection they make, sorry, the connection they make with people to understand their struggles is to understand our struggles is something they do so they can help us better ourselves. And it's something I really appreciate them for. Otherwise, yeah, I have nothing else to say for that. Thank you.
Priscilla, were you gonna say something or you want me to go?
Sheena, did you have any further?
Yeah, sure. I told Zaire that I would tell the story, and I do think that anecdotes are probably the greatest way to explain most things. Um, but Zaire and I met on like a dark and stormy day inside, and I had said like, you know what, like I was quite young too. We were both much younger than we are now. And I think I said something like, well, what do you want to do next? Like, what's your plan? He was like, I'm never gonna go to school and I'm gonna be on these streets, Sheena. And it was very fair. And we both understood you know, that's where we were. It was a dark and stormy day. Um and then life happened. We connected more. We understood each other better. We spoke probably every day. And then I'm going to fast forward lots of life, lots of years, um, to like witness Zaire now, who is like, sorry, he also told me he would never travel, he would never go to school, he would never travel, and he would never get married. And now Zaire is engaged to the most wonderful young lady. He is in school full time. They live on their own. They're done high school, and now they're in college full time, sorry. And the one other piece I wanted to share, and I think this is really important for culture because um, like Amandeep mentioned, culture is like it's about this like connection with each other. And so I have two teenagers, and a couple of years ago, my eldest was stuck in the Philippines, and I couldn't get him home because it was too young to travel on his own. And I was able to call Zaire, who has connections in the Philippines, and it was because of Zaire I was able to get my son home. This is like I'm leaving out many parts of the story, so it doesn't take too long, but it is a grandiose example of what happens when you actually connect with another person. As much as Zaire mentioned that like Amadeus has helped him, my firstborn is home and safe because of Zaire. We do this life together, and culture means we do it together. We stick together and we hear each other and we love each other. And Miss Jody, I hope you're listening, but I really, really appreciated hearing you this morning. But that is how Amadeus does it. We keep it real, we keep it honest, and we're authentic. And I think that authenticity is culture. And it breaks down a lot of barriers because what I lack in perhaps a particular language, I make up for in my heart. Um, so thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing the story. Very impactful and powerful. So now over to Connie. I'll pose the same question for you. In your work with Indigenous clients facing particularly mental health and addiction challenges, what culturally rooted practices or programs have had the greatest impact in supporting healing and reducing justice involvement?
Is my volume a bit better now?
No, I think the sound has gone a little bit down.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. Can you guys hear me at all?
No.
Very soft.
Perhaps we can,
Slow.
yeah. Did you want to take some time to see if you can resolve and then I'll come back to you?
What about now?
No, it's still quite faint.
Is it a bit better now?
Yep.
Okay. I guess sometimes computers do what they want. I don't have all the actual stats on the subject around justice specific. I haven't done a deep dive into that, as every person and situation is unique. And I can only speak to what I have experienced locally with the community that I have supported. But I would have to say diversion programs that support opportunities for cultural engagement and connection, meaning programs that are rooted in spirit healing. Access to sweat lodges, elders, healers, land-based programs where there's opportunity to learn and experience traditional practices and ways of living on the land and reconnecting with the land and self and creation. Programs that engage in learning and being able to hear and learn our own creation stories. So having the opportunity to find one's clan, what that means to someone, what those responsibilities are to them, to their community, to their family. These are all the things that connect people, and this is what actually gives someone's meaning. So the biggest challenge with mental health and addictions is the disconnect. So they're disconnected from community, they're disconnected from their self, from their family, from their culture, from their friends, everything. And when you give somebody the opportunity to reconnect and build a community or relationships, people actually begin to kind of move into their roles and they start to find their place and their healing journey can actually start. So there's kind of like a saying, if you don't know where you come from, and I don't mean like a physical place or location, I mean your community, your history, all your stories, all your cultural stories. There's movements like Land Back. This is what they're kind of all referring to, is if you don't know where you come from, then how do you know where you're going? So knowing and finding who you actually are is the key to living like a healthy life or following what we call, people probably have heard the term, the good path. In terms of mental health, sometimes there's not always a clear answer or factor, but I think providing an individual with the options to engage in culture and using culture alongside Western practices can have much better outcomes than just medication or one streamline of thinking alone.
Thank you, Connie. And now I'll pose the same question to you, Amandeep. How do culturally responsive programs at PCHS support clients with complex needs? And are there any examples of approaches that have been particularly effective in helping people avoid or move beyond involvement with the justice system?
Thank you, Priscilla. This is quite a good and heavy-duty question. So many of our clients that we serve, they don't come to us that, look, I am hoping I will have a problem, so please help me. There is no concept of prevention in mental health and addiction. It happens when it happens, and then the clients seek help from us. So many face intersecting challenges, addictions, mental health. Remember, these two don't come alone. It comes with poverty. It comes with family breakdown. So if we look at the traditional system, it often addresses these issues in silos. But right from day one, Punjabi Community Health Services has the philosophy, which will remain the philosophy, family as the client. We serve the clients with the community. And we take an integrated, person-centered approach that involves family and community. Because here we are talking mental health and addiction. One powerful example that I can share with you, which started back in 1990 and it's still going. We started discussion 35 years ago, and our discussions still continue, and it is our Sahara Addictions Program, which combines Western therapeutic models with culture and faith-based healing. So it's not simply plain talking. We are living it every single day with every single clients with addiction, mental health issues, reaches PCHS. So we work with peers and family members and offer gender-specific programs and deliver support in the client's language. Our addictions day treatment program, we run Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and it is for the Punjabi, Hindi, Urdu speaking clients. It's not translated while interpreters are sitting right beside you and group is being delivered in English. It's a psychoeducation group therapy in the culture, in the language. And the same group, when they are stable, has the opportunity to come to the relapse prevention program, which takes place every Friday, rain or shine, when it's 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Because our clients actually taught us that when they relapse, when they get reoffended, when they got into this circle over and over, is on Friday when they finish work, and then Monday they can't get up and go to work. They kept telling us for years and years. Then we said our clients are reoffending, going back to the same cycle, same clients. Our fiscal, fiscal year ends, and the OHRS, Ontario Health Reporting Standard Guidelines, the client is considered as a new client, is a unique client in the new fiscal year. But it's the same client coming over and over. What are we doing as a community agency while respecting the OHRS guidelines and funding guidelines? So our client taught us. So we started maybe 10 years back. You can still come to our office on Friday evening. There are 2 facilitators, male facilitator, because in Punjabi community, the alcohol and other addictions are primarily used by men. There are some women, but it's not that high number. So it's run by male facilitators for the men. They are having man-to-man talk on Friday evening. They have dinner together. And then they leave when their cravings are gone and they are stable for the weekend. Their families are involved in the psychoeducation group programs. So this is how powerful, when we say we are culturally appropriate, sensitive, responsive service. We are culturally safe service. There are so many terms attached with this culturally responsive service. So what is that your organization is doing? Any organization, when time comes to delivering cultural services. So these approaches, what they do, why are we putting so many efforts in? Because these help people to see themselves in the system, not the outsiders, but as participants in their own healing. And connection often prevents escalation into the justice involvement. So it's a question for all of us, that what is that we are doing with this diverse Ontario in the mental health and addiction supports for the culturally diverse communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Amandeep. We'll switch gears. Just to piggyback off of the last question, I'd now like to hear from you all on how overlapping identities, whether an individual identify as Indigenous, racialized, newcomer, or to us LGBTQ+, how these identities shape experiences of justice involvement and how culturally grounded interventions can respond effectively. So Amandeep, I'll begin with you this time. In your work with South Asian and other equity deserving communities, how do overlapping identities influence the challenges people face, and how do culturally grounded interventions help address these complexities?
Thanks, Priscilla. So people often live at the intersection of multiple identities. That's the gender, their immigration status, their caste, their class, their religion, their sexual orientation, and generation. So, for example, a newcomer woman experiencing domestic violence may also face language barrier, stigma, and fear of deportation. And say another example for addiction, a young man dealing with addiction may also carry intergenerational trauma and cultural shame that prevent him from seeking help. So these are real examples of our everyday clients that we see at PCHS. So culturally grounded interventions recognizes these layers of identity and oppression. So our staff at PCHS are trained to understand how racism, patriarchy, and migration trauma intersect. So we use family inclusive models and culturally specific psychoeducation to create safe spaces where clients can talk openly about their issues, or they might, and the same issues they may not raise if they are sitting in a psychoeducation being provided by the mainstream organization. So we create the safe space and space environment. So this intersectional lens ensures that people are seen fully, not just as a case of diagnosis. So I'll stop here and we'll hear from my colleagues.
Thank you, Amandeep. I'll next move on to Sheena. So from your perspective at Amadeusz, and also Zaire, from your lived experience, how do overlapping identities shape the pathways young adults face in the justice system? And how does embedding culture help them to navigate these challenges?
To embed culture, we need to make it a part of everything we do. Not just something we talk about but something that means hiring people who reflect the community they serve, creating spaces where youth feel safe being themselves and letting them share their stories without judgment. It also means teaching pride and showing positive role models who look like them and celebrate their background, and show that work can be fun if you find what you love. When we do this, we build connection, trust, and real change because people finally feel seen and valued for who they are. From my own experience as a Black man who grew up in a low-income neighborhood, I've seen how overlapping identities shape the path of young people taking place in the justice system. I've been labeled aggressive for speaking loudly or using my hands, which are things that are normal in my culture. I've been judged for the way I dress, when what some call streetwear is just the way we grew up. What we grew up with. Even having an Afrocentric name can be a barrier. People ignore or give you a nickname because it's unfamiliar, and embedding culture helps address these challenges, giving youth pride, support, and space to reach their full potential.
Well said, thank you. Sheena?
So well said, Zaire. The thing that I want to look at, and when we discuss intersectionality, and Zaire mentioned this, but we need to overlap like low income with race and gender. And we know, like, we can talk about these. We talk about these in academia all the time, but the talk is literally nothing. There's something else that happens when we actually recognize it, like Ms. Amandeep had mentioned. It's like when I can see that a young person who identifies as a man, who has grown up in poverty, who has been around all types of people who often carry guns for whatever reason, and it's normal, and he's in jail and he goes back to jail and he goes back to jail, that is overlapping. And so embedding culture of and I'm really wanted to use this word loosely, and this is specifically for Amadeusz because Miss Amandeep and Miss Connie, I really appreciate uh, the language that you're using to describe the work that you folks are doing. At Amadeusz, we don't just focus on one culture, and so we've developed this culture of love and understanding, which sounds almost hokey as I say it out loud, but it's sort of like when I can see that there are a whole bunch of overlapping, and we'll use the word identities, what's really important is to be as grounded as possible. And like Miss Jody said this morning, that sort of centering and recognizing what can I hear? What can I hear? How often do I see a young person that goes inside, comes outside, and then goes inside again? What is that piece in the middle? And one of the things that the guys and I have happened upon on like walks around the range is that like really longing for male camaraderie is something that we don't see in community as often, especially if you're not connected to deep roots of culture. And so someone in a presentation yesterday had mentioned like man groups where they can like just sit down and talk. And I'm so grateful to have heard that notion. This happens in Newfoundland. But it really has moved me now to think often our brothers want unwittingly go back inside because of a longing to be a part of something again. Even though inside sucks and it's so busy and loud, but there's also this brotherhood that happens that you don't find anywhere else. And so this is an overlapping piece of like, we just have to get to the base of the person and love him, whether he's inside or he's outside. And I think what Zaire is speaking to is that some of our guys, when they really see that we love them, like in real life, we love them, there's something else that happens. There's something else that's teased apart and an ability to be able to share a thought that's on their own head instead of us being like, this is what you're feeling and this is where you're coming from. I don't know what's happening for you. Um, but I think, yeah, I've said a lot of words. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Sheena, for sharing that perspective. Connie, I'll pose the same question to you. In your work with Indigenous clients, how do overlapping identities influence the challenges people face, and how do culturally rooted approaches help individuals reconnect with their communities and heal?
That's not an actual easy question to answer. Indigenous communities face many barriers and systemic challenges that are distinctive to them. But when you start adding factors in like economic class, age, gender, and physical capacity, then it creates increased challenges around access to appropriate service navigation, and just supports in general. Keeping in mind that due to the disconnect from cultural values, Indigenous communities have experienced there's a higher element of normative violence and lateral violence that Indigenous people face from within their own communities. I think learning our roles and responsibilities from a traditional framework can support this better. Our connection to language, land, clan systems, that's what frames our identities. Pre-contact, those things would have determined your role within your community, along with the responsibilities you had. So for an example, prior to contact, children and elders would have been pretty much at the center of our bundles. You know, children are the future, and the elders' job specifically was to foster them and build them up into that role and into their gifts that they were given. And it was actually probably, I'm going to say, the most important job for that community. More important than, you know, the warrior. Like, it was the most, because you're responsible for the next generation and protecting them. Today, sometimes the elderly are considered a deficit in communities, depending on the circumstance. So I think awareness of what a person's role might have been or maybe, and promoting it from a more traditional lens supports the reconnection and the healing process.
Thank you so much, Connie. And now we'll move on to our final round of questions. I'd like to discuss how we can better embed culturally responsive services into mainstream systems. Connie, beginning with you, based on your experience providing holistic, culturally grounded care for Indigenous clients, what approaches or strategies do you see as most effective for integrating culture into mainstream health and social services?
I would say first, a lot of these positions need to be filled or go back to Indigenous community members. It's very difficult for any agency to integrate culture into a program if you don't have the representation. A lot of Indigenous community, they're tired of sharing their story over and over, and to be honest, they shouldn't have to. Like, Indigenous community should not have to ask for trauma-informed care. It should just be something that's just given. Education is also a key component, and I don't mean mainstream academia. I'm talking about services need to ensure that staff have access and are actively engaging in cultural safety and culturally appropriate service education. So if you think about it, you wouldn't jump from elementary and then just go into post-secondary, because you're not going to be very successful. You need all those elements that secondary education provides you. So trying to support Indigenous community with no understanding of the cultural history or the impacts is going to yield similar results. I also feel that community collaboration and development is super important and key, because there has to be an ongoing dialogue with Indigenous communities and agencies on how to create and support cultural connection. It goes hand in hand with, you know, creating and ensuring that there are cultural safe spaces for those wanting to practice traditional ceremonies. Like examples of using traditional medicines within agencies, or having protocols to make sure that they're offering these safe spaces, that they exist and that they're available for community to use in their healing journey.
Thank you, Connie. Amandeep, as a leader in culturally safe community-based care, how can mainstream systems better embed culturally responsiveness in their programs and policies?
Thank you, Priscilla. And I was listening to Connie that how it is important to have the decision makers from the community to serve the community. Right? So similarly, the mainstream system must move beyond symbolic effort. What I mean by symbolic effort, that cultural responsiveness is not about celebrating cultural days. It's no longer having cultural foods, get together, costumes. So they need to move beyond that. It's about structural inclusion. So when I say structural inclusion, I mean by that investing in community partnerships. The organizations who has the inroads in the community, serving the community, funding those organizations that have deep cultural roots and credibility. I'm not saying that fund every culture and stuff, but we need to look at the who has the deep understanding of those cultural roots. So then The second piece I would suggest embedding cultural competency training, not by consultants. It should be across system led by community experts. People can do PhD in indigenous culture or Punjabi culture versus who knows the lived reality. You will get the document and checklist. Our higher level executive team is trained with cultural competency training. But by whom? And what's the outcome? What difference it is bringing? It's bringing checklist we completed because we have to report to OHRS, whatever our reporting, that's important. And then sharing power in program design and evaluation. So that ensuring that the policies reflect lived realities. And hiring diverse leadership. So decision making reflects the communities we serve. Ultimately, cultural responsiveness must become a core quality standard in health, justice, and social services. Unless until it is one of the major priorities, we will keep on doing these conferences and we will keep on bringing those experts, so-called, and who are telling us do this. So when people feel understood, and all of us has agreed to that, then when people feel understood and respected, Sheena outlined in a very nice 2 quotes, but this is what actually it means. So people feeling understood and respected, they are more likely to engage, heal, and thrive, thereby reducing the justice system involvement and building stronger and safer communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amandeep. Very eloquently said. And now, Sheena and Zaire, from your work at Amadeusz and Zaire, based off of your lived experience, what are key ways mainstream systems could better integrate culturally grounded practices to support individuals at risk of justice involvement?
From my lived experience, mainstream systems could do much more to support youth by embedding culture into everything they do. This starts by hiring staff who reflects the community they serve, offering anti-racism and cultural awareness training, and partnering with community-led groups like Amadeusz instead of trying to impose solutions from the top. It's also important to talk to youth themselves and give them more options so they don't feel cornered, and better after-school activities, sport nights, and new experiences outside of their environment to give them something to look forward to and to help them stay engaged in positive ways. Job opportunities that need to improve to more roles for Black and other youth of color and low-income youth. Even simple positions like type-in, managing schedules, or running errands can make work accessible and enjoyable, and show them that work can be fun if you do find what you love. Providing these opportunities can create safe spaces for cultural expression, focusing on healing and instead of punishment, helps youth build pride, trust, and tools they need to navigate challenges to reach their full potential. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
And Sheena, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think I want to add just a tiny piece because everyone spoke so eloquently. When I look at like the larger systems at hand and how can we embed culture, like Miss Amandeep said, it's like this, it cannot be just lip service. We've done this for lots of years. It's tiresome now. It's time that we like, one, I really think that appropriate pay for those that are teaching, those that are facilitating, those that are doing the work, these folks are often the ones that are also having those shared identities and are at risk of justice involvement as well. So I think appropriate pay and this, and I mean this, I'm linking this back to like systems because it's larger systems that assist in partnerships like Zaire mentioned. So partnerships with larger systems and smaller orgs and appropriate pay for facilitation of culturally sensitive, culturally relevant programming, not just from someone, and like no shade to someone who has done a PhD in these things. We're so glad. It's just also this lived experience piece beyond the language of lived experience is acknowledging a person's like you're a real person who has real experiences, and it is only from experience that we learn. And so I think the other piece is having more folks like eliminating the silos. And I think we're doing this today. You know, I've not ever seen Miss Connie. I've not ever seen Miss Amandeep. I've not ever seen Miss Jody. I've never seen these women before. And now I have an opportunity to learn from them. And I'm deeply grateful. So I do think that more of these pieces, though Miss Amandeep, I do see if we can do this better, we won't have to do this at all. We'll see each other. We'll be hanging out. We'll be like, hey, you want to mow the lawn together? I don't know. But I do think that these pieces, the shared dialogue, the shared information, and the like beyond all titles and the languages we use to describe ourselves when we enter a space, but how are you a person and how can I love you? This has to come from the top. And we get to put our young people in these places where they can see themselves, decide to, or help making big decisions.
Wow, thank you so much, Sheena. I really value what you said and just everyone across the panel here today, just for being able to contextualize how culture is embedded into programs and services and really offering us some tangible actions and steps that can be taken to really incorporate culture and make impacts for young people as well as adults who have justice impacts. So now I believe that it concludes our formal questions. And now I'll pass it over to Ben, who will facilitate our Q&A from the audience.
Thank you, Priscilla, and thank you, everyone. Yeah, we have two really important questions. The first question is, the multicultural nature of Ontario makes it challenging to provide services that cater to all languages and all cultural considerations. What would be suggestions on how to provide services? Should we be looking at more centralized resources that allow for individuals to connect no matter where they reside? We have another question, and I think we can do it where you can answer questions that maybe resonate the most with you. But the second question is, can any of you speak to what it may look like to provide culturally relevant supports to a client who has faced significant trauma from their family or community? Many of my clients want to reconnect with their culture, but for various reasons, they do not feel safe. What could it look like to rebuild a client's trust in their own cultural identity? So yes, feel free to answer the question or the question that resonates with you most. And maybe we can go into a circle. So who wants to start first in the circle?
I'll start.
Thank you.
For Rebecca's question, what can we do to help people get back into their culture? I think it can start with small things by finding maybe, let's say if they're a Caribbean person, you can find a Caribbean neighborhood that has groceries, schools, things like that, and bring them there to maybe trigger the positive sides of their memories to that culture and to make them to remind them that, hey, there is good things to who I am, right? Movies, shows, things of that nature, YouTube, like documentaries, and just reminding them like there is good to where you come from, even though that sometimes parts of the apple is brown, right? I think those things really helped a lot. For me, I'm a Jamaican, and we don't have the best reputation sometimes. And especially from when my trauma too, it was pretty violent. So I had to integrate myself a certain way back into my community by going to certain grocery stores and things like that, and just reminding myself that, hey, the community's not that bad, and you just have to find the people that you fit in with, and not everything else. So that's how I can answer that question. I hope that helps.
No, it does. Thank you so much. And I had a really similar experience when I found myself trying to reintegrate with the Filipino community in my like early 20s. And I found myself again in different grocery stores, in basketball courts, in dance studios every single night. That was literally like the epicenter of Filipino life in Toronto.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yes, okay, so continuing in the circle, Connie?
I think there was a question around how to re-engage into culture when there's been trauma.
Yes.
So around that, I mean, it's historically, right? Indigenous community and families, because of the 60s scoop, because of, residential schools, that's actually, a true thing, even in my own family. There is trauma around culture and engaging in culture because at one point it was very punishable to do so. So people do carry, families do carry. I carried it, I have family members that still carry it, right? Trauma around wanting to engage and wanting to keep it at bay and not wanting, to be involved in that because of that, the outcomes that you think it has. But I think when you reconnect somebody in a way that shows them the beauty of the culture or how the culture was intended to be. So for example, like anybody can read, a book, and that's your interpretation of what that means, and you can take that and do whatever you want with that information. But when people get reconnected to our creation stories from the elders, sit with those elders, attend ceremony, they realize that's beautiful, and that's not how it was intended to be, and somebody else took that and made it into something, of their interpretation, or used it as a way to, push people down, or, get rid of that culture. So I think it's on how you frame it. Like when you really start connecting people back to their community, their identity, their creation stories, and the beauty of that, then I think eventually they can find their way back to their communities and their culture, and not and have it not be so like what you have to separate the person that did the trauma from the actual culture. I think that's the difficult piece, but it can happen.
Thank you, Connie. And I really enjoyed what you said earlier also about the importance of really getting into the life world of an individual through meaningful conversations, through meaningful dialogue. So thank you for sharing. Okay, continuing in our circle, Sheena?
I think I want to answer both, if that's all right.
Yeah.
But I do want to look at Rebecca's question around like what could it look like to rebuild a client's trust in their own cultural identity. And I think that anyone working frontline, we are often in this place of like thinking that we're in the driver's seat, even though we know we're not supposed to, but sometimes we think we're there, but we're not in the driver's seat, or at least we ought not be in the driver's seat of what's happening in a person's life. And so, and also, Rebecca, I'm hoping you take this like so lovingly. I think sometimes it's like, if you were to join a Prosper huddle and this question came up, I would say, why do you think that you have to do this? This is not something that you can do. Now, can you be still enough? Can you be calm enough? Can you be loving enough that the person that you're supporting can hear exactly what they want to do next? Can you offer or find the supports that can support them in deciding next what they want to do? Have they come to you and said, man, I really feel left out of my culture, and it's because of XYZ that I can't get back there? If that's the case, then I'm like, this is a person by person basis that we have to go off of. What were the traumas, and do we have to look at them? Maybe we don't have to look at the traumas. Maybe we can look at other pieces, but it depends on the person. This is so fun because it's literally what a Prosper Huddle looks like every morning. Like, guys, here's what's come up. I feel like I need to do this. And then the rest of us are like, wait, why are you can't do that. You can't stabilize a person. You can't heal a person. You can't fix a person. You can't do any of that. You can love them. You can walk alongside them. You can believe in them. And that is what we need to do. So, Rebecca, I'm hoping that you feel the love from this, and I look forward to, like, maybe one day we find each other at a gas station, we have this conversation again. And then an anonymous attendee had asked about the multicultural nature of Ontario. I don't know that we could use, I can appreciate that you use the word challenging, but I think it's actually super special that we have so much happening here. I live in Rexdale, and you can literally, in the summertime, it's like the greatest time on earth. Like, you can hear every language, you smell every food, it's everything here. And what I think that, in particular, Rexdale does really well is find commonalities. So can we use the language everywhere? Well, if we can, great. But if we can't, also great. Why? Because you have to connect with a person in real time. And we all have things in common. Whether we come from opposite sides of the world, we all can find something in common. And it takes a person to care about themselves enough to see that in themselves so they can see that in someone else. And I think, Benjamin, you'd said that earlier, is that you see everyone as an extension of yourself. And if someone is an extension of me and I love me, then I love them. And if I love them, then we can find a way to communicate effectively. And we've done this. I think many of us have seen this happen in real life time. So that's my answer. But I also think that there's much more to explore.
Oh, thank you. And I think that really shares, like, how critical it is to see how we can harness the power of storytelling, especially because, like, it's exactly right. The more lived experiences that we hear about, really what we're doing is we're shaping our analysis, and we're shaping it in a way where we can be more strategic with our case management, with thinking critically about co-design, as you mentioned, Amandeep, co-design and co-creation. So, Amandeep, to close off our circle, could you?
Well, sure. Thank you, Danny, and thank you. Those are two very special questions. I appreciate the way Zaire has answered a very practical approach to cultural trauma. He said, take the person where they belong to. So are we saying, meet me where I am, not physically, at the level of trauma or the service I need? So, like, Ontario-wise, cultural diversity, like November is a month of language recognition for India. You know, Canada has 2 official languages, English and French. How many official languages India has? I learned the other day, 22. And they have 1,600 plus dialects. Imagine the cultural diversity and all that. What we need to advocate for, and from this conference, if one thing we can do is we can advocate for equitable funding for culturally specific trauma supports. So what is happening is, in my maybe I'm 2 years away from my retirement, my 30 plus years, I have seen all generations of social justice system, LINS and IAR and GTA, you name it, I did it. I worked for mainstream for 14 years. But I like to end our session with one story, which I learned from my grandmother, who was here in Stony Creek. My friend's grandmother, I call her grandmother as well. And she was 82 years old, healthy woman, knitting all day and going for walk every day. And we were worried that she will get lost. And then she doesn't speak language. She doesn't have any clue. And then one day I was visiting them and I asked her, Mom, you go outside every day, we worry about you. She said, you don't speak the language. She said, but I love everybody. And how do you know you love everybody? She said, tell me what language smile has. She said, smile has no language. Everybody look at me, I smile. So this is creating healthier cultural communities by empowering the communities, not by creating the programs for the communities, telling them, okay, you have, there is higher rate of, say, I'm just using in this mental health addiction conference, justice conference, high rates of diabetes, right? So now you started creating program for them, or you are working with them to address the root cause. So this is something I like to conclude my answer, include equity and cultural safety metrics in health, social, and justice system planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Amandeep. And I've learned so much from all of you, and it's really helped shape how I'm thinking about case management, about methods, about all of the methodological approaches within those methods, and co-design and storytelling. It's so many of those things. It's all of those things. And thank you very much. Priscilla, would you like to share final remarks for the Q&A session?
Thank you, Ben. Before I conclude with final remarks, just want to clarify that there are in fact more than 2 official languages in Canada. There are over 70 distinct Indigenous languages that are spoken in Canada. And of course, with the history, genocide took them away. So just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying, Priscilla.
No problem. Thank you. So again, I just want to thank all our panelists for sharing such insightful and inspiring perspectives, and to everyone here for engaging in this important discussion. Today's conversation highlighted the critical role to which community-led, culturally grounded approaches can support individuals with complex needs and reduce the likelihood of justice system involvement. We've heard just how collaboration across community organizations and service sectors and systems can create more responsive, equitable, and sustainable outcomes. I think what resonated for me throughout our conversation this morning was just how impactful cultural approaches can be in responding more effectively to individuals with intersecting identities, as well as their complex needs. It offers spaces for belonging, for trust, and understanding that mainstream systems may simply struggle to provide. So the information shared by our panelists also underscores the vital role in which cultural representation plays in effectively supporting the unique needs and identities of individuals. When people see themselves reflected in the programs, in practitioners, and decision-making processes that serve them, it strengthens trust, engagement, and ultimately it can lead to more meaningful and lasting outcomes. By centering culture, lived experience, and community wisdom and knowledge, these approaches can help to address root causes while promoting protective factors for healing and resilience. So as we conclude today's discussion, let's continue to build on these partnerships, invest in community capacity, as our panelists had alluded to before, and also to ensure that culturally responsive approaches remain central to how we can support individuals across the province. So thank you again to everyone on the panel for your participation and really for the work that you do on the ground. And also I want to thank the HSJCC for putting the segment together and as being part of the conference and having and entrusting me to moderate this discussion.